Hi, my name's Allyson. I'd like to invite you in for a tour of Daisy, the tiny home I built myself using mostly reclaimed materials. This has allowed me to retire and be financially comfortable. The house is 20 feet long by 8.5 feet wide by 13.5 feet tall. The layout was determined by what I actually wanted to do in the house and how I wanted to live in it. It just made sense to me that when you welcome guests into your home, they come into your living space, and then the kitchen's there, and then the bathroom behind. I have quite a small bathroom in comparison to some other tiny homes, because that's not a space that's particularly important to me. I'm a shower, quick in, quick out kind of person. I wanted more living space. And then moving onwards, you have pull-out stairs just behind my easy chair. Upstairs, there is a loft bedroom, and I have a porch area that is enclosed by free glass doors that I got off Marketplace. That creates a space for me to put my freezer, and then a lovely large garden on the outside. What I envisioned when I was drawing up the plans is what I got in the end. I adapted a few things as we went along due to space considerations or safety considerations, but everything that I planned out worked out. Once I knew I was going to be building a tiny home and I had a rough plan drawn out, I then started collecting materials. Windows being a very expensive item, I would look on Marketplace or other sales places, and I wanted them as big as possible. So I bought the windows, and then I came across an ad for wood from a house being renovated. It was $60, and I knew I'd use that somewhere. So I bought the whole lot, stored it for a year. It's now on my ceiling, and that's one of the favorite things in the house. So I made things work, and the house was built really around the things that I found. The only things in the living room that I don't have in my apartment is a double pull-out bed. I do have a single Tempur-Pedic mattress couch bed here for a guest, and how I make it work if I have two people is I give them my bed and I sleep down here. It's extremely comfortable. In fact, the mattress is better down here than it is up there. So that's probably the only thing I wasn't able to accommodate, but we make it work. I'm an organizer. I love to organize. That's one of the pleasures of my life, is to take things and organize them. Even my books, I had organized at one time, they're kind of messed up now, by color. And now I'm going to organize them by scanning them all into a library so I know what books I have, because I keep buying duplicates. Everything in here I feel needs to be multi-purpose. Down here is organized by drawer, each of the drawers in this bed. And then the ones at the back are usually my winter shoes, winter coats, things like that. So you have to be very organized in a tiny house because you got to know where you put it. And I'm good at that. I've always had interests in creative things. The problem is that I don't have a lot of space to either work on them or store them. So I recently decided I'm going to build a creative cabin at the side of my property. It's going to be 8'8" by 8'8". Now I'm sourcing materials again. So far I've got a door, a window, a stained glass window, the inside wood, insulation, and flooring. And I've spent a total of $100. Most of it I have received for free. So that's my next big project. This is the kitchen area. We have the breakfast bar here with 2 chairs underneath. There is a wheels metal doctor's cabinet that can pull out and become another surface. The counter space is bigger than the counter space I had in my 1-bedroom apartment. It was planned that way. I also have a board that fits across the top of the stove, so I can create another flat surface if I need it. So I have all this counter space. Plus, sometimes I would use the stairs If I'm making something and I've got the baking trays out, I might be putting the baking trays on the stairs. It works. It's more space than I need. I have a 20-inch propane Summit stove. Originally had an RV stove that the temperature just wasn't consistent enough, so I changed that out a few months ago. A microwave, a fan. I really like the light on this, so I tend to use that a lot when I'm working here. A freezer, a fridge, and a washer-dryer combo. I don't ever use the dryer part. I tend to hang things outside because I find that the combos, your wash takes about 45 minutes to an hour, but the drying has to be divided, and then it takes 2 to 3 hours to do the drying. So I hang it outside, which is what I prefer anyway. A very deep sink, my coffee maker, and more pantry supplies, and my dishware. So we have storage, we have spice rack on the door, we have pull-out shelves in the cupboards. You can get to the back of the things very easily. We have a storage cupboard here that has drawers in it, as well as hanging space, and also contains some of my larger pantry items. Got open shelving for my dishes. I also have a storage cabinet above here. They both have pull-out trays, so I can get to those things at the very back easily. And then this sliding door closes off the bathroom. I didn't have enough space for the mechanism for a barn door, so I just mounted wheels on the bottom of this standard door and made straps out of an old leather belt to pull the door open and closed. I like everything about my kitchen. I love that my washer dryer is right there. I don't even have to take a step. I just turn around, there's the fridge and the freezer. Everything is handy. Everything makes sense about where it's placed. I just find it very efficient. I was living in a one-bedroom apartment. I just recently divorced my husband and my kids had left, so I was worrying about how I might be able to afford the rent. I came across tiny homes probably on the internet, and it piqued my interest. Then I did the deep dive and discovered it was becoming a movement, and I decided I wanted to be part of that. My tiny home probably cost between $50,000 and $60,000 to build, and that would include the materials, the labor. I hired professionals for safety reasons for things like electrical and plumbing. The propane obviously needed to be certified. I sourced a lot of items secondhand. That was awesome because I got some really interesting things that are full of character rather than just brand new building materials. I self-built my home rather than have a company build it for me. 1, for finances. 2, I wanted to be very involved in the whole building process because I wanted to learn those skills for myself. And 3, I was very specific about what items I wanted to fit in. And quite a few times there was an opportunity to adjust something to fit some other treasure that I might have found to be repurposed. I probably spent about a year collecting materials that I wanted to use within the house as well as furniture. And then the build sort of started. And that was guided by my savings. So as I had the money, I would hire the people or I'd do the job myself. And then I'd have to stop and wait till I had some more money. So hence it took about 18 months in total to be able to build. But I was debt-free at the end of it. I didn't owe any money, which was awesome. I was very lucky that my boss at the time had a large property and he was in the construction business, so he had every kind of tool you could imagine. And he allowed me not only to park and build there, but to use all the equipment. So I didn't have to buy any tools at all. It was really difficult finding some place to park initially. When the house was almost finished, my boss had a friend that said that they would host me. We moved the house onto his property, and I was there for a year until they needed me to move because they wanted to build a barn. That particular person knew somebody else that turned out they would like me to move onto their property, but I asked him to please check with his neighbors because if the neighbor wasn't happy about me being there and reported me to bylaw would have to investigate and I'd have to move. His neighbor was not happy about it. So that was a dead end. I then started putting posters up and advertising. I even took those posters and went door knocking, talking to people to see if they'd be interested in hosting me. And it ended up being a friend of a friend that said, come and talk to me, we're interested. We hit it off. He was very generous in that he put in a cistern and a pump for the well water. He put in electrical panel and electricity running up to the house. So he did everything he could to support me. They have both, actually, himself and his wife, have been awesome landlords. 7 years ago, I was living in a one-bedroom apartment, and at the time I was paying $1,200 a month, which now seems very reasonable because that same apartment's about $2,000 a month. My expenses now are $700 Canadian a month, and that includes water, electricity, garbage removal, everything basically with the exception of my internet, which is a good rate anyway. So my expenses are very reasonable and I can actually afford to live on my pension now. Feels like freedom. Financial freedom is just not worrying day to day where your money's going to come from, knowing that you have fixed costs and that you have a great landlord and that you're safe. You know, I can't imagine living anywhere else than here. It's, as you can see, a compact bathroom. On this side we have a round galvanized tub and a hula hoop for the shower curtains to hang off of. I did look at the chrome circles for showers and they were so expensive. I thought, I'm not doing that. I bought the hula hoop for $5, attached it with cable wire clips, and my $5 has been very well spent. This I bought from the Home Depot. It's quite a narrow sink and cabinet. There's plenty of storage on the inside and a little tap. This was a butler's tray that my mom and dad had. There was a handle here originally on either side and you carried it like this. My mom had the mirror put in, and so it's a little piece of my old family home. On this side, I have the Nature's Head composting toilet. Beside it, I have a little rechargeable vacuum that is sufficient for vacuuming in here. This wall and the other wall both have recessed alcoves in them to store the toilet paper, tissues, makeup, and medications / vitamins. So that was a really good use of the space. This is my bedroom. It's a loft bedroom. I have a double bed. I don't know what the dimensions are, but I have enough room back here for my clothes. These are the short pants and those are the shirts. And then I have more storage on this side as well. This barrier is actually a louvered kitchen door that swung open like the old style saloon doors. And then I've got a little box that I painted and I've attached that to the door, and that's my little bedside table. And the windows on either side, they're both egress windows, which means in case of an emergency, I could get out from either side, which was important. In the summer, it can get quite warm up here. So I do have a ceiling fan to push cool air down. Up here, I put a small fan sitting in the open window. And then this window's open as well. And that's enough to create a nice breeze across. And I still sleep under the duvet in the summer because it's that cool. So I decided to go with the loft feature because I wanted to maximize the living space downstairs. I spend so little time up in my bed that it made more sense to me to have the space downstairs. I also didn't want to go any longer than 20 feet, and I don't know how I could have done a bed downstairs that was a double. If I can't do the stairs at some point, then the couch / bed downstairs has been factored in as my future bedroom should I need it. In fact, when I had open heart surgery 2 years ago, that's where I recovered. And that's my favorite napping spot too. The things that stand out most to me about living tiny after 7 years is the simplicity of my life, the enjoyment I have doing my art and crafts and creative activities. The fact I'm not having to work now means that I get to enjoy them even more. I'm surrounded by nature. It's extremely peaceful here, very calming, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Thanks everyone for coming to join us for the tour of Daisy. Tucker and I thank you. And if you'd like to follow or ask me any questions, please reach out to my Instagram link, Allyson's Teeny Tiny. Have a great day.